And views with myself, Salailo Makwidir. The time is 10 minutes past 9 Central African time. And we're going to be switching our focus now to hashtag Gaza Focus, where we'll once again turn our focus to Gaza, a place where survival has essentially been weaponized, and even the promise of food has become a death sentence. Images and testimonies from the so-called Gaza Humanitarian Foundation aid sites are nothing short of nightmarish, where aid meets ammunition and crowds of starving Palestinians are met with sniper fire, mortar shells, and private military contractors who laugh after they shoot. In a blistering expose, we've heard Israeli soldiers calling these aid centers killing fields, and security contractors referring to hungry civilians as zombies, as zombie hordes, and this all under the banner of humanitarian assistance backed by the US and Israel. Doctors Without Borders, known globally as MSF, has been one of the few humanitarian organizations still operating in Gaza, treating gunshot wounds, trauma cases, and enduring what has now been called slaughter, masquerading as aid. We've all seen the images where these humanitarian corridors or collection centers are essentially being opened by this Israeli US organization, Gaza Humanitarian something, GHS or GHF, and they essentially open these corridors, these centers, and call poor Palestinians, poor young women and children of Gaza to these centers in the hope that they'll give them some kind of aid and open fire, kill them in something that looks very, very nightmarish. As I mentioned, it feels and looks like a utopian kind of movie that you wouldn't expect to see in reality, especially in the 21st century. And joining us now on the ground from Khan Yunis in Gaza is Aitor Zabalgogeazkoa. He's the emergency coordinator for MSF, and he's seen the consequences of this militarized aid system firsthand. And he can speak with authority of a medical worker who's deep inside this catastrophe. Aitor, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to Salam Media. Really, really appreciate you giving us your time, even in incredibly difficult conditions.
Thank you for putting the attention on Gaza to you. Thank you.
I think first and foremost, you are currently in Khan Yunis. To begin with, what are you seeing right now on the ground in Gaza, in Khan Yunis? How would you describe the situation, especially around these so-called humanitarian corridors, and just the dire situation of hunger and the lack of aid coming into Gaza and into these Palestinian territories?
Well, we are what we are seeing now is people walking little by little towards those open distribution sites that they are expected to open around 10 o'clock in the morning, and people is moving through the 2 or 3 roads that are designated to reach the area little by little, and then we are expecting to receive how is more wounded and casualties in the next hours. This is happening since the 27th of May, daily, one day after the another, after the another, after another. Each time that there is a distribution in those places, there is always casualties in great numbers.
Mm, mm, mm. I want to focus on, I think, the highlight and the biggest story of concern in Gaza right now, the GHF, Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. From your vantage point, as a frontline medical and aid responder, what can you tell us about this organization, and what do you make of this new system of aid delivery under military control? Essentially, we've heard reports of people being shot just trying to collect food. Has the MSF treated some of these victims of violence at these aid distribution sites or points that essentially have become killing fields?
Yeah, the case is that this is very clearly a political and military operation, which is designed to replace impartial humanitarian aid, and also very much designed in order to displace population towards areas controlled by the IDF. The case is that the Israeli authorities, they continue considering the areas where the distribution sites are open a combat area, and they are forcing civilians to get into those areas at any time, because a lot of times the distributions are happening at 12 o'clock in the night or 2 o'clock in the morning with virtually prior not prior notice. I mean, like they give 10 minutes, 20 minutes prior notice, and only reaching the places it takes half an hour, 1 hour, even if you are in Han Yunis. So you are coming from any place from a little bit more north from Han Yunis. You need to take 1-2 hours to reach the places, and each time that they are making the distributions, they are being 20,000 parcels, something like that. Not enough for the people which is reaching, and all I cannot repeat enough distribution that has been wounded, this has been killed people. We've been treating systematically people even in the small primary health center with one emergency room that we have in one of the streets, which is coming from the distribution center number 2. We in the last month, we treated 20 dead people and 548 wounded. All the killed people, they had wounds in the chest and in the abdominal area. So those are not fire shots that they are trying to disperse a crowd or something like that. Those are fire shot at people, and this is happening all the days.
Hmm. Very, very concerning. And what has been most concerning for me is the language coming from some of the IDF soldiers and the American contractors who work in these distribution sites. They've described, Palestinians as zombies. They've described these centers as killing fields. From what you guys have witnessed on the ground, how dehumanizing has this aid process become for the people of Gaza, and how, most importantly, how dangerous has it also become?
Yeah, it is. It is purely designed to degrade and to humiliate the people who is looking for food. I mean, we are talking about one, stadium size, space, which is surrounded by mounds and by barbed wire. You have only one entrance. They open it. They make you go through some fences. Of course, the ones who dare to go there normally they are young people, the strongest ones that are trying to get the food. They get into they grab the food and they go out quickly. And in these moments, even if you arrive earlier because it's a combat zone, so you should not be there, you get shot. And
Mm,
if you are in the area during the distribution, but you are not going by the correct way, you get shot. And if you are leaving later, or you are later in the area and you shouldn't be there, you get shot also. So at the end of the day, only young people who is a lot of times looking to do business are jumping into the most valuable items. And then at the end of the distributions, we could take half an hour. It's very few vulnerable people, like women and some children, able to reach some food that is remaining in the floor. So this is a completely degrading, is completely absolutely designed in order to humiliate the people who is desperately looking for food.
mm, mm. How's your organization MSF, working under these extremely difficult conditions? Have you been harassed by the IDF and the Israeli military yourselves? Just the conditions of being present in Gaza, in Khan Yunis at this very moment. I think it is the frontier of some of the worst humanitarian injustices and crises that we've seen in the 21st century. I'm sure it must be very, very challenging.
It is very difficult for us and for all humanitarian organizations that they are on the ground. It is in our small how is primary health care centers, that they are very close to the areas of the distributions. We got frequently how is stray bullets, and it's a dangerous situation. Other hospital from the Red Cross, that it is even closer to the area, gets bullets all the days, and it's a very challenging environment. At the same time, moving around and trying to reach the hospitals, etc. We are meeting all the days with the problems sorted by the Israeli forces, forcing us to coordinate the movements in order to move from one place to the other. And what happens is that a lot of times we get no answer for hours. We get how is taking the routes from other places, etc., etc. So it's extremely difficult, and at the same time, watching all the time that there are strikes and military activity around all the time, severely affecting all the civilians. So we are based in an area called Al Mawashi inside Han Yunis, which is supposed to be safe area. But only yesterday, 8 airstrikes killed around 40 people in different tents and camps in during the day. So it is not a safe area, even if it's so-called like that by the IDF forces.
Hmm. Very concerning again. You interact with Palestinians a lot. I'm sure in the work that you're doing. How are the people coping? Physically, psychologically, emotionally. I mean, I'm just thinking about it with the trauma of just trying to get something to eat and not knowing if you'll come back alive whilst trying to, forage or trying to get something that, you can be able to eat and make sure that you don't die for malnutrition.
The people is exhausted. You can see in the faces, and also even more privileged people like our own colleagues, like our Palestinian colleagues. Each time that you get into a rotation, like passes the time, you can see how they are slimmer. Even people who can afford to buy some food. So the people who is going to the distribution sites, you can see really that they are struggling to feed themselves. They are desperately for looking for food and for any income. The question is also that it has not been economy for the last year and a half. So people is also looking at to the food in order to get some money back in order to change for other things or whatever. And it is really a difficult how is scenery to see, because people is going with one plastic bag in one hand and a knife in the other, to the distribution sites in order to feel into that they are going to get something, and they look really like, everybody looks like really exhausted, and everybody is really like to the breaking point, really.
Hmm. And I think that's understandable that they would be at that breaking point. Just lastly, before I let you go, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, is it something that the rest of the world should call for their closure? Should more be said about them and how they distribute aid in Gaza, and the nature of some of these killings? Do you think this is an issue that is sometimes not emphasized a lot when it comes to the issue around Palestine, around Gaza, the issue of this Gaza Humanitarian Foundation and how it has essentially taken over the whole sphere of humanitarian aid distribution in Gaza?
For us, we have been telling, I mean, for Doctors Without Borders, and I think that we are talking for a majority of the humanitarian community here in Gaza. This newly created so-called aid mechanism scheme around Gaza Humanitarian Foundation is an abomination that humiliates and degrades people. It is a scheme which is deadly, which is ineffective, and needs to be immediately dismantled. Okay, the best way to do that is by the traditional humanitarian aid systems. I mean, it's very simple, the mathematics. I mean, if we have 2 million people in Gaza, imagine that only 500,000 are vulnerable. Imagine that. Before there were 400 distribution points of the World Food Program and their associates, whoever they are. Now there are 4 distribution points. This makes very clear what this mechanism is for, which is to displace and to ethnically cleanse the area and force the people to go there. So what we are asking to the government is not to support this pretended solution, which is established by the U.S. government and the Israeli authorities.
Hmm. I think we're going to leave on that note. Aitor, thank you so much for giving us your time. Really, really appreciated. And hope we catch up soon. I think to shed light on the true and lived realities of Palestinians, I think in a world that sometimes forgets just how dire the situation is in that part of the world.
Thank you to you for putting the attention in Gaza. Thank you very much.
There you go. That was Doctors Without Borders Emergency Coordinator Aitor Zabalgogeazkoa. And yeah, he's been painting a very, very dire picture of the true lived realities of the people of Gaza and this Gaza Humanitarian Foundation that, I mean, folks, just imagine this for a moment. You wake up to the sound of drones, the walls of your home cracked from the last strike. There's no food left of any kind. You have young children around you, not a grain of rice in sight, not even a crumb of bread to eat, to I don't know, to survive. And then you hear, whether it's on the radio or by word of mouth that aid has arrived, but it's not aid in the way the world imagines it to be. It's a convoy surrounded by guns, watched by drones, and flanked by the very forces that have flattened your neighborhood. You step outside, not because you're brave, but because you're desperate. Your children are hungry. Children are watching you. Mommy, daddy, we're hungry. You kiss them goodbye, but you don't say it like it's the end. Even though deep inside you wonder, will I come back? Will I come back home? Because you know what's waiting at these so-called distribution sites, these distribution points. You've heard the gunshots. You've seen bodies dragged off the streets. People that you also probably know who went out the very same way that you also went out on that day. But what do? Do you stay home and watch your child die slowly of hunger, or risk everything and maybe die with a piece of bread in your hand? See, that's not fiction. That's not a utopian, futuristic movie scene that I'm painting for you. It's not fiction, it's reality. It's Gaza, and it's happening at this very moment. In about an hour or so, you heard from Aitor there, the alarms will be rang. People will be told to come to these distribution sites, and many of them are not going to return. What do we call this? Hey? Is that really humanitarian aid or genocide by starvation? Going to take a quick break. News and views continues after this.